Ladies and gentlemen, live from the Rockabessa Hitchin Hearts UK, in association with Bloodfire Studios and AJLR Media, welcome to the Big Debate Show. I am your host, the Judge, and each and every Monday from the hour of 9 p.m. to 10 p.m., you, the viewers, will be able to have a debate with me. Now, before I go on any further, if you're new, if it's the first time you're watching the show, let me introduce to you once again Nikki on the show. And how are you, Nikki?
I'm fine, thank you.
Nice to have you back on board.
It's good to be back.
Yeah, it is really good to be back. I am raring to go, because last week, as you could see, we had a few little problems, but we're not. Fingers crossed, everything will go smooth tonight. Now, I want to tell you how to get involved in the show in a few moments, but on tonight's show, we will be debating, is racism still a big issue? I'll say it again. Tonight's show is all about, is racism still a big issue? Now, I have to start off with a little statement because I know how some people are going to get a bit fired up tonight. So let me just start off with this. Racism, it doesn't matter what color you are. We all can be a victim of it. You can be harassed, abused, or even racial jokes. It doesn't matter what color you are. Let me just put it out there right now. We can all be a victim, or you've seen it. Someone has said something to your friends or your family. So I'm just going to put it right out there right now. It's a universal thing. So with that said, let me turn to Nikki, my co-presenter. Let me see what she has to say on tonight's show. Nikki, is racism still a big issue in the UK?
Of course it is, and I don't think it will never be an issue. It will always be an issue because of the different cultures that are coming in here. And I'm not just talking about whites or the other cultures like you said. I've actually witnessed ethnic minorities verbally, physically abuse white people. So it is an issue, and it needs to be dealt with. Or if not, in schools, young people need to be educated more. Their parents need to be educated, because the children are learning from their parents. Their opinions are learned from their parents. So
you're saying to me that you've witnessed. What you're saying, you've witnessed people that are not white abusing white people. Is that what you're saying?
Well, yeah.
Would you say that's a
I've seen it.
Common thing?
I've seen it quite a few times. It's not like a random thing, but then again, I also think it depends what part of the country you're in.
Mm-hmm.
You know, are you in an area where it's quite multicultural, cosmopolitan, or are you in an area that's mainly white? Obviously, if you're in an area that's mainly white, you probably won't see it so often, but when you're in a multicultural society, you will see it more.
Okay, my viewers, I'm not going to mess about tonight because we've only got an hour. And you know already, if you've already tuned in throughout the weeks, how fast the hour goes. So if you've got something to say on tonight's show, don't hesitate, don't wait to the last minute. Pick up that phone. The number to call is 07818 361 551. Let me say that again. 07818 361 551. Is racism still a big issue in this country? If you don't want to speak to me live, which I hope you do, you know, I'm a nice guy. But if you don't want to, that's okay. You can Facebook me or use the Twitter, just the Big Debate Show. If you feel like you don't want to speak to me, you can use the Facebook or the Twitter. But in the meantime, let me say this. A few weeks back, I was watching the news, and I wonder if you, the viewers, saw it. And they tend to highlight, when it comes to especially black men or females getting racially abused. And I know that there's a lot of white people will be saying, well, there's a lot of white people who get racially abused. Why ain't it on the news? And the Asians will be saying the same thing. But I'm going to put it out there. If you've been racially abused, or if you think it's still a big issue, or if it's not, you know the hotline number, 07818 361 551. Now, let me say this, Nikki. I was watching the TV a few weeks back now, yeah, and I came across a video, and I was so surprised because it was a black guy trying to get to work, and I'm sure it was in France, and he was trying to get on to the tube, and every time he tried to get onto the tube, these white guys, who I think were Chelsea supporters, pushed him out. Every time he tried to get back on, they pushed him out. This must have been going on 3 or 4 times. And I looked, and I smirk and says, I can't believe this day and age, yeah, they're still doing that kind of crazy things, you know? It seems like it will never go away. Racism, such a big issue, but I would like my viewers to tell me, what do you think? Do you think it's calmed down? It's not as big as it used to be? Back to you, Nikki. Let me see. What do you think? I mean...
Right. So we saw that all over the news?
Yes.
Okay. So have you heard of these particular people? Have you heard of Chris Donald?
Never heard of him.
Have you heard of Christopher Yates?
Never heard of him.
Have you heard
You're reading off a lot of names, Nikki.
Daniel Blake?
You're reading off a lot of names.
Have
What?
you heard John Reed?
Never heard of him.
Have you heard of Stephen Lawrence?
Yes, I've heard of him.
Do you know what they've got in common?
Tell me. Tell the viewers. Don't just tell me. Tell the viewers.
Victims of racial attacks. The thing is, you've heard of the last one. And why have you heard about the last one? Because he was black. All the others I've mentioned are all white.
Mm-hmm.
Half of the victims of murders, racially motivated murders, are white.
Mm.
But we don't hear about that. But we soon find out about...
Okay.
Why
Why on
Because
earth on the
with
news?
the majority, it's more the ethnic minorities. If they get attacked, it's all in the news. But you don't hear about those. I mean, one of these, when he was bundled into a car, beaten, stabbed 13 times and set on fire.
And he was a white guy.
He was a white guy.
My viewers,
And
don't mess about.
That was a racist attack.
Do not mess about. If you've got something to say on tonight's debate, 07818 361 551. Is racism still a big issue? Nikki.
Yeah, but also...
Let me say this to you.
Can I
Yeah?
say something?
Well, you've already said something.
I want to say something else as well, right?
Yes.
I mean, there was a clash in Birmingham, 2005-2006, between black youths and Asian youths.
Mm.
It was called a big riot over poverty and bad housing. What's the bet? It's that if it was blacks against whites or Asians against whites, it would have been racial because the whites are there. But really, what that was, it was a racial riot.
Okay. And
But that's what gets me. If it's whites involved, then it's a racial attack. If it's not, if it's ethnic minorities, it's something else.
well, let me say this to you, Nikki. As you can see, I'm a black man. Yeah. And I can only go by my own experiences. Yeah. And me growing up in the UK in the 70s and 80s, let me tell you something, okay? I was frightened, all right? Because when I was growing up, we had the National Front was massive, okay? And you had skinheads with Dr. Martin boots. And I can tell you this, Nikki, a lot of my friends and family got a good kicking.
So did my family.
They got beaten
So did my family.
by the National Front. And it was scary. I'm telling you something. It was so scary growing up. I remember they used to say, go home, Judge, go home because the National Front are coming to town. It's very tough. It's very tough. And you have to understand, back in those days, it seemed like it was okay. It was all right. it was okay to call a black person this, or it was okay to call an Asian person
But
that.
was ignorance, and it was ignorance.
So when you're talking about, when it's black people or Asian people, it gets highlighted. Well, what you need to do then is the media. No one's forcing the media.
It's because it's not recognised as racial attacks on white people.
There is no pressure.
Majority.
There is no pressure. Yeah? No one's saying when a white person gets beat up, don't put it on the news. It's down to them.
No, because it's not seen as a racial attack because we're the majority. It's not racial, but it is a racial attack.
What do you think, my viewers? So far, do you agree or do you disagree? Have you got an opinion tonight? Have you got thoughts? Have you been a victim of racial abuse or harassment or even jokes? Do you think it's still as bad as it was back in the days, or do you think it's calmed down? The number to call to get involved in tonight's show is 07818 361 551, or you can leave a message on the Facebook or Twitter page. Racial discrimination.
I mean, for example, right? 3,000 Asians, they got the car theft. There was more than that who got their car theft, but because it was a white person on these particular 3,000 things, it was deemed a racial attack, nicking a car.
Yeah, yes.
But it wasn't when it was an Asian, no, it's not racial. If it's a black person, it's not racial. But if it's a white person, it's racial.
Let me tell you something, Nikki. As you're going to highlight certain things on tonight's big debate show.
I'm just saying, I want to make it clear, it's just not ethnic minorities that are racially abused, and I think it needs to be highlighted because white people are racially abused, and it's not seen.
What was my opening statement?
But I don't think it's, without these examples, are they going to know?
Well, guess what?
I mean, these are Home Office and race relation information.
Well,
it's not something I just picked out.
Let me tell you something, Nikki. I remember watching the news back in the days, yeah? And when a white person stole something, they never said, on tonight's news, a white person stole or murdered. They said a male. But I remember, when it was a black man, they always mentioned the colour. A black man murdered, or a black man stole, or a black man done this, or a black man done that. So it swings and roundabouts. Now you're saying that when it's a black person, it gets highlighted.
Ethnic minorities.
Yeah, Asian. But I tell you something.
Eastern European.
Well, this is why I want on tonight's show, if you have an opinion, if you've got something to say, if you think that, you know what, yes, I'm white, I'm black, I'm Asian, I want to say something on tonight's show, don't hesitate, don't waste time. Call the big debate show tonight, 07818 361 551. Tell me your thoughts, my viewers. Let me know how you feel on tonight's show. Nikki, you know what? I don't see skinheads how I used to. I don't know if they've grown their hair. Yeah? I don't see them marching how they used to. And I'm wondering, where have all the skinheads gone? Where have they all gone? They've all grown their hair? I don't know, but this is
about a good 30 years ago.
This is what I can't understand. I remember growing up and the National Front used to march. Now these skinheads said all these type of words. I'm not going to repeat exactly the words, but you know what type of words they used to say. And I always said to myself, these National Front skinheads used to listen to ska music. They used to listen to reggae music, and I couldn't get around that. They listen to black music, but they hate black people.
But we're talking about, has racism, is it still a big issue now?
I think it is.
Well, I've just given examples.
Yes.
It is now. You're going on about what happened 30 years ago.
I think it is, but I'm thinking about my own experiences now.
Which was 30 years ago.
No, even now, my viewers, do you think it's calmed down? I tell you something, and I'm not saying white, I'm not saying black, I'm saying universal. If you've had a problem or harassed, let me know on tonight's show, because I think it's people nowadays, they don't say things in your face how they used to.
Oh, yes, they
You
do.
know, in the
Yes, you
workplace,
do.
hold on, in the workplace, especially
Well, of course
if
they-
you've got a witness and somebody racially abuses you, 9 times out of 10, if you've got a witness or two, that person's job is going to be on the line.
It shouldn't be 9 times out of 10. It should be 10 times out of 10 that person shouldn't have their job on the line. They shouldn't have a job at all, because at the end of the day, that comes under the Equality Act,
Yes,
where they should be instantly dismissed for harassment and bullying.
but you would know, Nikki, that there's a lot of injustice
Well, that's
in
what,
the
well,
UK.
you know what? People need to fight. Because I'll tell you
There's a
something,
lot of injustice,
Because
and it's
people don't
very
fight
easy
it.
for you to say yes, 10 out of 10, but we know
But
it
that's-
doesn't work like
well,
that.
it should work like that, because the law is there in place for that to work. And I'll tell you something, if someone ever said to me anything at work,
Yeah,
I would use that and I'll have them out straight away.
that's good for
Because
you.
it's there.
That's
and
good for
people
you.
need to know it is there. If anyone bullies you at work, regardless where you come from, regardless where they come from, if they bully you, they're out. They're out straight away using that particular law.
Have you ever been bullied at work? Have you ever seen someone racially abused? Have you been a victim? Do you think, you see, a lot of people, they say jokes, Nikki, yeah? And they think it's funny, yeah? But it's not funny. You know, these racist jokes flying around. I mean, you come from an Irish kind of background, innit?
Kind of. No, I come from an Irish background.
Yeah, and I remember back in the olden days, they had like the jokes where it's an Englishman, Irishman, and a Scottish man. And I remember the joke was always on the Irish. Yeah? Now, I've been to Ireland many times, over 20 times. And I tell you something, it opened my eyes out. Yeah? When you see the Irish people in Ireland, it just opened my eyes out. And they ain't nothing how people were saying about the Irish over here.
Because it's ignorance. I mean, when my
Jokes, don't like it.
Name, so when my name comes over, it's like no blacks, no Irish, no dogs. You know, we were classed the same as dogs.
No blacks,
But at
no
the moment,
Irish,
but
no
that
dogs.
was back then. Now we're getting the Eastern Europeans in, and they're getting treated the same way as what the Irish were, and the same way as what black people were when they first come in. The same way Asians were when they first come to this country. We brought them in. We
Yeah.
want them in to help our economy.
Yeah, what?
So
The Eastern Europeans? I tell you something, Nikki. I will disagree with you. I'm going to disagree with you. You know
what?
why I'm going to disagree with
what are
you?
you disagreeing with?
Let me say this. In the 50s and 60s, the Asians, and especially the blacks from
No,
the
the
West
Asians as well,
Indies,
not just especially the blacks. It was Asians as well
they
were
were,
mistreated.
they were invited over in this country. Now you're talking about the Eastern Europeans,
They're
yeah?
invited. You got to open ticket.
I'm sick and tired of all, I have to say, the English people that I speak to. I'm sick and tired of so many, not all, but so many saying they're coming over here, taking
but
our
are they all
jobs.
white? Are all them English people white?
I tell you something, you want the truth?
Because I'll tell you something.
Do you want the truth?
I've heard some English people that
Do
are
you want the
white who said
truth?
that.
Do you want the truth?
I know
The
you're gonna say it's
majority
white.
of people that
Are white.
I've spoken to,
Are white.
when it comes to Eastern Europeans coming over here, are white. And they were saying they're coming over here, they're taking our jobs, yeah, and it's not fair. And it just reminds me of back in the days of when the Asians and the blacks came over here.
And the Irish.
And the Irish, yeah? And it's like to say, hold on a minute. No. It's people trying to come over here to better their lives. And the majority of people who come over here want to work and want to
And do work.
support this country by paying taxes. 07818 361551. I'll say it again, 07818 361551. Is racism still a big issue in this country? You hear it on the news, Nikki, and you said when it comes to a black person, it always gets highlighted.
Or an Asian person.
When it comes
Actually,
to an
don't with
Asian
because
person,
you know what? There's been more Asian people who've been murdered. You don't really hear about them. But you hear about the black people.
why is that,
Damn,
Nikki?
I don't
Why
know.
is that?
I don't know.
Why is that?
I don't know.
I tell you something,
Personally,
Nikki.
I really don't know. Because there's plenty of Asian people who've been murdered. You don't
tell
hear
you
about
something.
that, and that's race
Well,
related.
I'm going to tell you something. Live on the Big Debate Show. There's a lot of black people, black males, who've been murdered, and you will never hear about it. Yeah? You will never hear about the so many shootings. It doesn't reach national news. Yeah?
But are there white people shooting them?
But
Is it all white people killing them?
I
You
don't
don't
know.
know. So don't. You
I
can't
don't
say
know
it.
if it's white people
Well,
killing
you
them.
know what I'm
but-
saying? The facts I've given is facts.
Let me tell you
You're just-
something.
You're just. I think.
Let
the
me.
black people
No,
were
I'm
actually
not.
killed
No,
by-
I'm
by
telling
white
you.
People, they were shot.
Hold
How
on.
do you know?
Not
You don't
every.
know, so you
not
can't
not
say
not
that.
every. Not every
You can't
black
say
person
that.
who gets killed by a white person is going to reach national news. But
But you're saying
in the
that
simple
they are.
thing, I'm telling you something.
You know what? You need
I-
to go and do your
I'm
research
telling
as
you
well.
something right now. I'll tell you something live on the Big Debate Show. I'm going to tell you something now, yeah? And I am so glad because you keep saying about if a black person gets murdered, it gets highlighted. If
Yeah.
an Asian person gets murdered, it gets
No,
highlighted.
it doesn't. I said you
Yeah?
don't hear about the Asian
Well,
people.
let me tell you
I'll tell you,
something.
there's been plenty of Asian young men
The
who've been
black
murdered
people
by
of
white
the
men
UK,
and by black people.
the
So-
black people of the UK, Nikki, do not control the news. They don't control the news. Yeah? So I don't know who you're trying to target because
I'm
the
not targeting
black
no one.
people
I'm just saying
do not
that is
control
what
the
we see.
news.
And the thing is,
But I'm
that's
telling
what,
you-
that's what the media shows.
But I'm telling you
the
something.
media shows who is being racially abused, who's racially being attacked, who's racially being murdered.
Mm-hmm.
And it is mainly, majority, black people,
Mm-hmm.
the odd Asian. But you don't really see about the white people. That's what I'm getting at. It
I-
is going on out there, and
Yes.
it's not just one
Well,
culture, it's everybody.
Well, this is where
I mean, have
I
you heard
will
about
say,
the Eastern
well,
Europeans
this
that have
is
been
where
murdered?
I
There's
will
been
say,
plenty murdered
just
in
like
racial attacks.
just like a few years back when that black guy got shot dead by a policeman, and after he got shot, it started the riots and protests.
But why did he get
I
shot?
will say the same thing.
Why did he get
Hold
shot?
on, I will say the same thing, Nikki. You're saying about blacks and Asians and the white people, if the white people don't, if they get killed by a black person or Asian person, you don't really hear about
I
it.
know, I also say about the Asian
Well, this
people,
is
you
what I
know.
say. Protests. You got to be out there protesting. Yeah? Protesting. And that's what happened when that
And
black
no,
guy
but it doesn't become
got
protest,
killed.
It becomes a riot then.
Protest.
Riot.
I deal with peaceful protests.
But they're
I
not peaceful
can't
though,
control
because it
people.
becomes a riot.
I cannot control what
Because
people do.
people use that protest, peaceful protest, to start up a riot.
I cannot control what people do. I haven't got the power. But what I do like is when injustice, Nikki, yeah? There's a lot of injustice
There's
out
loads of
there.
it going
And I
on.
tell you something, yes, you're talking about now,
And a lot
at
of
the
it
end of
isn't
the
just with
day,
black people or Asian
yeah?
people. It's with everybody. There is injustice with everybody, every individual from every
yes,
culture.
there is. And what I want my viewers to think about tonight, you've heard what's been going on tonight's show, and I know you're itching. If you've got something to say, pick up the phone, 07818 361 551. It's the judge for the Big Debate Show with Nikki, and we are debating, is racism still a big issue? Is it?
Yeah.
Is it? Nikki says yes, and I can concrete say that too, because you know what? I tell you this, I think I can only speak as a black man because I'm a black man. I'm not white, I'm not Asian. and I can only talk about my own experiences and what people talk to me about. And you know what? It's still a major issue out there. I know people don't like to talk about. Let's move on. Let's talk about something else. No, not on tonight's show, because I'm going back in time. But I'm glad, yeah, when Stephen Lawrence got murdered, yeah, and as you say, oh, when it's a black person, I am so glad that that murder case got highlighted, because what that did, it showed, and I'm talking nationally, it showed that the police themselves were racist against black people.
You can't say that. You can't say all police are racist against black people.
No, I said it showed that not all, the police institutionalized racism was going on like it was nothing. And because of the murder and because of the investigations that went on, because of that murder and the investigations that went on, the police got exposed. The police got exposed.
You can't say it's all of the police.
Of course. Well,
you can't
Nikki,
say it's all of the police.
Of course we can't say every. I'm not saying every.
The police
I'm not saying the police, every single policeman and every. I'm not saying the police.
For you, if it happens.
Don't even try to put words in my mouth.
You need to listen back to it, and then you'll hear
the
police.
The police institutionalized. The chief came out, and that's what they said. And I tell you something, it sent shockwaves, Nikki. It sent shockwaves. So yes, there's a lot of injustice out there, but the judge. I have many type of friends, all type of colors, and I'm not on this show tonight directing it just at white people. There's Asians. I know Asians that, they've since 7/7. I personally know Muslim men that have had a tough time.
Well, yeah,
they've had a really tough time, Nikki.
Attacked.
Very hard time. Yeah? Yeah. I mean,
but you know what?
They can't even walk down the streets.
Oh, it's not that bad.
Nikki, I'm telling you, I've got quite a lot of Muslim friends, and I'm telling you something.
So have I.
Some of them
walk down the street.
They won't even let their wives walk down the streets.
They don't walk down the street anyway, half of them.
Pardon? Pardon me?
A lot of them won't let the wives walk down the street on their own anyway.
Well, what do you think, my viewers? It's the big debate show, and I am the judge. We are talking about, is racism still a big issue? That's 30 minutes have gone. 30 minutes. I tell you something, it's going so fast.
But yeah, the ones who are actually more at risk of being racially abused and attacked are those of mixed heritage. They're the ones who get racially abused the most. Race relations.
Carry on.
What do you mean, carry on?
Carry on? What are you trying to say? What
I'm trying to say is, they're the ones who are. I'm just making people aware of who's getting racially abused the most.
Well, you know what? Let me say this to you. Yeah, because.
And if I can go there even further, the ones that are more at risk of walking down the street by themselves, is a danger, is white men under 30. If you want to know.
Well.
So yeah, racism is an issue.
As I said to
because
Nikki, and I've said to the viewers,
what is actually going on out there.
As I said to Nikki and the viewers at the start of the show, my opening statement was, doesn't care what colour you are. Doesn't care if you're white, black or Asian or whatever colour you are. We all can be a victim. Yeah, I can only speak about my own experiences and what I've seen on the TV. I couldn't believe it, but let me say this to you, especially in football, now they can't say the things how they use, since they've put in CCTV cameras, Nikki. Yeah,
I know football hooligans that are black.
hold on.
Who would do all that?
What I'm saying to you, since they put in the CCTV cameras, yeah, they cannot be racially abusing players
Well,
how they used to be.
But they shouldn't be
And I am
anyway.
so glad for that.
They
I
shouldn't
remember
be
back in the
anyway.
days, chucking bananas on the pitch, you know, making the monkey signs. I mean, what were they thinking? I am so glad because right now they are putting a hard stance on this. Those Chelsea players who abused that black man on his way to work, they might get banned. I hope they do get banned. But furthermore, on the news recently, FIFA are saying not only will they fine clubs, they will take points away. They're going to go hard on them. They're going to, you know, take them out of competitions. And that's what you have to do, because I tell you something, we got to stamp this out wherever it is. Yeah? Doesn't matter
So
what colour, don't care what colour you are, what age you are, this has to be stamped out. There is no room in the UK for that kind of behaviour.
Yeah, what about, what you're going on about that because it's football. What about the young youths that attack elderly people on their doorstep? They say it's a mugging.
Hold on.
But
We're not talking about old people getting mugged, Nikki.
We're talking about racism in today. Is it still an issue? Yes, it is an issue.
So
white elderly people are being attacked
by who?
groups of ethnic minorities.
What, Asians, blacks?
I'm not...
Highlight it.
Blacks. Well, I know one in particular was mugged on his doorstep by a group of black people, black lads. But that's because of where the area he was at. Another one I know, he was stabbed in the throat walking up the street and robbed by a black person. But that's just seen as a random street robbery, both of them. But if it'd been the other way around, can I ask you, right? If it was one of your black friends,
One of my black friends?
yeah, walking up the street, and a white bloke went up and stabbed him in the neck, robbed him, would you say that was a racist attack? Would you?
Would me personally?
Yeah. Would you say it's a racist attack?
I'll tell you something. I will say it's an attack. If
Oh,
somebody,
really? No, you wouldn't.
if some,
No, you wouldn't. You say
if
it
a
was
black
racist
guy
attack.
gets stabbed, yeah, by straight away, people gonna thinking, hold on a minute, white, black, or black, white. It's all racial. It's all racial. But it's a crime, Nikki. And
It is a crime,
and I
but
will
it's
say
like
it's a
done.
crime.
But it would be seen as a race crime if the victim was black and the perpetrators were white. It would be seen as a race crime.
Back to my viewers. If you've just tuned into the big debate show, we are discussing and debating, is racism still a big issue in this country, in the UK? Have you ever been a victim, or one of your friends, or are you the type to say, listen, it's nowhere near as bad as it used to be. Let's get over it. Come on, let's move on. Let's change the subject. Are you one of those people that think, you know what, it's not a big issue anymore? Yeah, it's not a big issue. There's other things to be talking about. They don't, the National Front is not as powerful as they used to be. What do you think, my viewers? Is racism still a big issue? The number to call, once again, 07818 361 551. I'll repeat that again, 07818 361 551. Let me tell you this, Nikki, yeah? Because you see crime, okay? And I won't be on this show being the judge. I don't condone any type of crime, any type of racist abuse. The reason why I say that, because I remember with my own experience, I was at a nightclub in Birmingham, and I was lining up, and this black fella was walking into the nightclub with his white girlfriend. And there was a group of black females lined up with me. And I will say this live on the Big Debate Show. The abuse that black guy got because he had a white girlfriend wasn't nice. And that, I can't condone that. You know, I'm not going to say, oh, it's all right because it's... No, I will absolutely... I just don't like any form of it. So I've experienced it on the other side too. But I'm going to tell you something. In my own experiences, especially with white men, yeah, growing up, ignorance, yeah,
and that's what it is. It's all
and the names, the list of names. I remember going to school, walking to school, and me and my friend got spit. They wind down the windows and spit on us and say, go back to your own country. I remember, you know, I don't think a week went past. Go back to your own country. And I thought to myself, where am I going to go? Where is the judge going to go? There's only one place I could go. And that's back to Hitchin, where I was born. So if they want me to go back, I can only go back to Hitchin because I was born in the UK. Nikki?
Why pass it over back to me for?
You don't want to say nothing?
Well, it's true
that's
though.
a surprise.
No, it's true though. I mean, my family had the same thing, go back to Ireland.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I have witnessed a lot of racial abuse. I've witnessed one white girl being beaten by...
What about yourself, Nikki? Let me talk about, because
you know what? I don't want to go there.
You don't want to go there?
Because
Why don't you want to go there on the Big Debate Show?
Because...
And I've expressed my views and my own personal experiences.
What went happened, I don't want to discuss again because it was quite a nasty attack. Because I was white.
Okay.
I don't want to go there.
That's fine. So you have...
I've had it first hand, and nothing was done because I was white.
And would you say, without going into any details, it was because you was a white girl
It was because I was a white girl.
You got...
I had the better hand, and because of that, they didn't like it. So it went further than that.
It went further than that.
A lot further than that, where men were brought into it all. So... It was a cowardly act on their behalf, but it was a racist attack because of where I was as well. So yes, I have witnessed it. I have experienced racism. So I'm not...
So we have something in common then?
Everyone has been... You know what? You'd be surprised.
Not everybody.
No, you'd be surprised how many people have experienced, whether on themselves or members of the family, racial abuse. Like I said, my family, half it's from Ireland. So they got a lot of abuse when they first come over.
No Irish. No Irish.
Exactly. I've got friends who are from Eastern European who've experienced it. I've got, obviously I've got black friends, Asian friends who have all experienced it. But then I come from an area in the UK where it is cosmopolitan, where we are multicultural, where we do have differences and where there's a lot of racism
and tension,
but also,
and sometimes tension too.
No, but also saying that, yes, is a bit of racism, but not as much as if you go to an area where it's mainly whites, because where it's mainly whites, there's a lot of ignorance there, and they are probably more racist.
Well,
but where we live in a multicultural society, we're quite fortunate because you get to know others.
You do have a little point there, because I tell you something. When I go to London and I go to areas that they seem like there's a lot of black people, like in Lewisham or Brixton or Peckham, and I notice, even though I don't live in London, I notice that everyone seems to be getting on. When I go to Lewisham and I go in the pub, it's very mixed, and there's no issues with colour, you know, and I wish that could spread throughout the country. Yeah,
it's ignorance.
I'm saying I wish. I said I wish it could.
Happen, but it won't happen.
Of course it won't happen,
happen.
because there's a whole, and don't forget, the majority of this country is white. The majority, 80% at least is white. So there's going to be more white racism when it comes to attacks on Asians or blacks. You're going to get a lot of that, and for some reason,
murders Half of them are white.
Some reason it gets highlighted on the news and it stirs up, and you could imagine, Nikki, when you've got a black, if like me being a black person, and you switch onto the news and you see something, it's gonna stir you up.
But you won't see
it's gonna get you angry.
But you won't see
it's going to make you think, where's the justice?
But where do
and
you
I
see
tell you something.
ethnic minorities doing the same with white people? Because they do. They do.
I can only go through what I see. Yeah,
I'm going for what
and
experience.
it's the media. I don't control the media, but when I see on the news, I tell you something. I'm not a happy chappy. 07818 361 551. It's the big debate show. I'm your host, the Judge, with Nikki. Tonight's show is racism still a big issue? Is racism still a big issue? And I am surprised tonight, Nikki. I am very surprised. I'm surprised. You see, certain issues, I don't know if a lot of the viewers, they're listening in, but they don't want to pick up the phone because, I don't know, it's a lot of people, I find that they don't really want to talk about it. They shy away from it. But this is the big debate show, and we don't shy away from nothing on this show. We're gonna go direct and we're gonna hit it home tonight. Big topic tonight. It's a massive topic, and let me say that we've been talking for 40 minutes now, Nikki, and I tell you something, I think we've only scratched the surface.
Oh, this is deep.
We've only scratched the surface. You look on social media, yeah? You look on what people put on social media sites, the videos, the texts, whatever they say, and I tell you something, it is all over the world. It is all over the world. And right now, in America, in the last 2 years, you could see that they've taken it even further than that. It's extreme. It's extreme, and it is highlighted. It is highlighted.
You've got to look at the war. You've got to look at Palestine and Israel. It's a religious war, but it's also racist as well. Yes, they're racist against each other. That is being racist.
Well,
what's going on there is racial.
It's all over the world, Nikki.
My friend went there. He's Muslim, and he was taken by a gun. Yeah. Get off the bus. You're walking through. Let the Americans go through by bus.
Yeah,
so he has to walk with the Palestinians.
It's all over the world. I tell you what I don't get is when people come up to me and say, "You're all right. It's the Asians I don't like." I've had that in my ears before, and I'll tell you something now. Anyone who comes up to me and says that to me, the Judge, you don't like blacks either. And I will say that if a black person came up to me and says, "Judge, I don't like white people," well, guess what? I might not like you either, yeah? Because I have a lot of white friends too. 07818 361 551. There's 15 minutes to go, Nikki. And you know what? For the first time on the show, we've had something in common.
Yeah.
Something in common for the first time.
It is actually the first time.
It's the first time.
It is an issue.
It's a massive issue, and it will never go away, Nikki. I can't see it ever going away.
Because the ignorance out there, and that's what I'm saying.
But I tell you what I think.
Parents need to be educated so they can educate their child.
I will tell you something. I will tell you this. A couple weeks back, my little boy, I took him out with his best friend, who was a little white boy. And both of them were holding my hand, Nikki. Yeah? Black and white. Holding my hand. And it's funny, I got a lot of stares.
Why?
I don't know why, but I noticed I got a lot of stares from white people. I don't know why. maybe they're thinking, hold on a minute, why is, he's not even mixed race. But if you saw them playing together, black and white children playing together, it's such a beautiful sight. You know, they don't see color when they're young, and it's so beautiful. It's a beautiful thing.
It's adults who teach them.
It is,
or don't teach them, who don't show them.
and what I can't understand is a lot of these racist thugs will go to a football, I have to say football because it's highlighted, and they will go to these matches, and a lot of the football stars are black, so they're supporting the black star footballers when they're scoring, but next minute they're taunting the black guys trying to get home, and I just can't understand it.
No, I don't get that. But then
I just can't understand it, and you see, I personally think we've come a long way. We've come a long way. The reason why I say it because
I think it's more covert now. Before,
of course it is.
Of
course I did say that already. I said that already.
I don't think we've come a long way. I think it's just as bad as what it was 20, 30, 40 years ago. The difference is people are keeping it quiet.
When I mean when it's come a long way, Nikki.
It hasn't come a long way.
When I mean it's come a long way, yeah, I can walk down the streets now, yeah. I remember I couldn't walk down the streets,
but the thing is, people are still thinking it.
And of course, but this is what I'm saying.
But no one's looking. What are they going to do? What are they going to do?
Let me say this.
There's no one looking.
Let me say this to you. Yeah, especially the old white men. Yeah, I look on the older white men.
It's not just the men; it's the women as well.
Yeah, and I don't know if they weren't used to Asians and blacks, but the name calling and the blame culture that used to go on back in those days. Now it's they're trying their hardest to clamp down, and you can see in sports. You see them on the football pitches. No to racism. You see it all over now. People are trying to unite and stamp this out for once and for all.
I don't know. There's still too much of it about.
Yes, there's still too much of it about, but guess what? My viewers, we've got about 12 minutes left, and if you would like to get involved in tonight's show, the number to call is 07818 361 551. Is racism still a big issue in this country, in the UK? Now, you've heard the judge and you've heard Nikki's views, and it's a massive issue still, and it's always going to pop up. It's always going to raise its ugly head.
Daily.
And what we've got to do, we have to chase down the racist people. I sound like a preacher. You have to chase them down.
Not chasing them down, just doing it straight with. They're trying
wherever they're hiding, and when we get them, we don't use violence.
What are you going to do?
Educate them.
But they ain't going to listen.
That's what we're going to do. That's what you have to do. You have to educate them, because this is what I can't understand. When people put down another colour, especially
but it's not just colour. It's not just colour. It's different cultures. Because a lot of Eastern European, a lot of them are white, and they're being racially. Another example: Irish travellers. They are racially abused all the time, because they like heavy culture. You've got a group of them that aren't decent, and because of that, it gives a bad name for all the others. I've worked with a lot of lovely Irish travellers. They're hardworking, but they're discriminated against because of where they come from and who they are. They can't get a job, or they're offered a job, and as soon as they find out the address is, the job's gone. So that's local, and that happened like last year. So
discrimination.
And it's racism. It is racist as well, because
so can a white person?
Although they're white,
can a white person be racist against another white person?
Of course, it's not against. Racism isn't about colours.
So
It's about different cultural. It's like me. It's like someone being racist, like a white person being racist against an Eastern European. They're white.
I will say it's
If you call,
it's a form of discrimination.
it's like, okay then.
It's a form of
it's
discrimination,
you,
but
so
I'm not white
it's,
against.
It's racist. It is racist. Same way as if you, right, said something against an African. You're being racist, but you're both black. You are being racist. It's about different cultures. So that's another thing. You need to educate yourself. People need to educate yourself. What is racism? Racism is when you discriminate against people of other cultures. And me, I don't know, saying something about a Polish person, I'm being racist because they're Polish. They're from, I'm being racist. They're a different culture.
Well, you know what?
People need to.
I tell you something. I tell you something now. It's such a major issue. It's such a major issue, and it seems like what Nikki's saying and what I've said throughout the show is something that will never go away. It's something that it seems like it's gonna keep popping its head up.
Oh, daily.
But I'm gonna say this because I'm the judge on tonight's show. I'm gonna say this every time it pops its head up. We have to chop the head off. And I don't mean it in a violent way, but it's something that needs to be stamped out, because I can only speak about my own experiences and my friends' experiences, and it hasn't been nice. And it's not only through that, it's through sports, especially because
It's not just sports,
no,
so.
in sports, football, it could be in your work. Hold on. It could be in your workplace, and I've seen it, and I've known people that have been racially abused very bad, absolutely very bad, and we can't ignore it, yeah? We can't ignore it. So I love when I see people protesting injustices, yeah? I love when I see that.
Idiots who
Yeah?
take it further and start
I
riots.
love when I
So
see
you say,
that, yeah?
No, I don't agree with
Because
protest.
I remember looking back and I say to myself, you know what, all these riots, yes,
But they started from protests.
protesting, but then the
They
thugs
all
came
start-
in, and I don't agree with smashing windows and stealing, but I will say this on tonight's show, I agree with peaceful protests.
That's the thing, because it leads
Yeah?
to riots.
Peaceful protests. Tonight's show is racism still a big issue, and as you can see throughout the show, it still is. And I tell you something, I don't think it will ever go away, but it's one of those things that education, yeah, highlighting. But guess what? I'm going to stop right there, because we have our first caller on tonight's show. Left it a little bit late, but I'm going to take this call. Hello, welcome to the Big Debate Show. Hello?
Hello,
Welcome to the Big Debate Show. What's your name?
it's D.
Hello, D. What would you like to say on tonight's topic?
Basically, is racism still a big problem? It is a big problem, and to be honest, it's like, okay, back in the days in the 80s and so forth, when, let's say, I was growing up, yeah, it seemed to maybe be a bigger problem. Like you just said, that, being able to walk down the street in certain times and certain places was a no-no. But now it's gone underground to a large effect. It's even worse, because it's there, but everyone knows it's there, but at the same point in time, it's hidden. It's hidden in companies, it's hidden in society, it's hidden in the police departments, and it's only when things like Trayvon Martin and lots of other young black men that have been put to death before their time for no lawful reason that it's to the public arena and the public eye. But really and truthfully, as a black man myself, you're going through these things on a daily basis, whether it's underlined, hidden, a major event, or just being walked around or followed around a shop by a security guard. It's racism.
Wow, and you've hit the nail on the head, because I did say it's not so much in your face how it used to be. It's hidden, and how do we try to stamp this out, D? How do we try to move forward as a country to sort of
really and truthfully, you have to start from the grassroots. You know, the older people, the older generation, people say, well, you know, they don't know any better. But really and truthfully, if you go back to, you was talking about your son and his best friend who's a little white boy. That age group, they don't know white, black. They just say, my friend who lives here and my friend who lives there. That's all they see. And that's how it should be. That's how we're meant to live as one. You know what I mean? That's what Martin Luther King was trying to say. That's what many of our forefathers before us was trying to say. We should live as one.
Live as one.
We have to start at that grassroots level. And really and truthfully, it's going to be the kids of today that are going to be teaching the adults from yesterday. Because really and truthfully, an innocence of a child will lead the way, basically. Because you can't teach old dog new tricks. It's not going to happen. People have inbuilt racism within them. And don't get me wrong, I'm not just talking about white people being racist against black people, because it works both ways. You know, yes. I for a fact can turn around and say there's certain black people that are blatantly racist towards white people as well.
Yeah.
It's a two-way thing. And until we all change, nothing's going to happen apart from our young black men, and even so some white people are going to get killed for no apparent reason apart from the colour of their skin.
And I have to say this, you've said some really good points, and one of the key points that you said was the grassroots. And like I said about my son and his best friend, yeah, that's where it has to start, because the kids do not see colour, yeah?
Not at all.
And it has to be taught. Racism, you know, it's got to be taught. And it spreads that way. But you're absolutely right, D. We've got a long way to go, but I have hope, and I hope you have hope too.
You know what? Without hope, we haven't got anything. So yeah, I've got hope.
Thank you very much. Thank you, D. I hope you still keep tuning into the Big Debate Show. Thank you.
Definitely keep debating, Judge.
Thank you,
Nikki. Thank you.
Thank you. Wow. Yes, I think that's a nice way to end the show. You know, me and Nikki was debating, and it's nice to get a caller in who talks with knowledge and knows exactly what he's saying, and some good points, Nikki.
It's what we're saying. It is covert.
Some good points.
And it children need to be taught.
Some really good points.
And what they learn is from home. So they're only doing what they were learned, and like, it is the older generation. And it is covert, and it is undercover.
And as Dee said, the grassroots. We got to start from the grassroots. We've got 3 minutes to go until the show ends, so I'm gonna start winding the show up. But I have to say, Nikki, you know, it's been a good show again. It's been one of those topics that, you know, it's going to affect people. And the one thing I like about the Big Debate Show, that every topic is totally different, which I'm going to explain to you about next week's topic, because this week's topic we was talking about racism, yeah? And next week's topic, yeah, for all my viewers out there, I hope you hold on to your seats, because next week's topic, next Monday, is, does size really matter? That's next week's topic. Does size really matter? And I'm not talking about shoe size, Nikki. Without going into any details, for all the adults out there who only should be listening into the Big Debate Show, next week's topic, does size really matter? But I would like to take this opportunity to first thank Nikki once again.
Thank you.
It's been a wonderful show again. I'd like to thank Bloodfire Studios and AJLR Media for all their help and support. I'd like to thank the good people of Rockabessa, where the show is. Such a beautiful place to have the show. But most importantly, I'd like to thank all the viewers out there who took time out to tune in and to watch the show. And don't forget, if you've got anything to say about tonight's show, just put it on my Facebook or my Twitter page, The Big Debate Show, and we can carry on the debate after the show. But for now, I'd like to thank everybody who got involved in the show. And don't forget, next week, does size matter? This is the judge for The Big Debate Show. Thank you all for tuning in. Until next week, Monday, thank you. And just remember, we all have a voice. Thank you and good night.